speaking of other networks, basically shoveling out their own sort of propaganda garbage, here is Nicole Wallace with a very interesting perspective on people's scrutiny or questioning of the U.S. intelligence agencies. Remember, she worked in the George W. Bush administration
and on the McCain campaign.
This is, people may not recall this, but there was a lot of different spying by U.S. intelligence agencies, a lot of different controversies over their spying. In fact, people may not remember this too, because this goes all the way back 40 years ago, 50 years ago, where we had something called COINTELPRO, which was also a little bit of a problem in terms of spying. But here is Nicole Wallace.
I believe his outreach to Russian intermediaries could have been the basis for NSA surveillance. While many questions still remain, what is clear is that Carlson's dangerous accusations have added to a growing chorus of distrust in our country's intelligence agencies, all started during the presidential transition by the disgraced ex-president. Joining our conversation, Frank Figliuzzi, former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI, now the host of the Bureau podcast, and an MSNBC national security analyst, and Andrew Weissman, former FBI general counsel, a former senior member of the Mueller investigation, now an NYU law professor, and lucky for us, MSNBC legal analyst. Frank Figliuzzi, talk about who the NSA listens to, and say if I wanted to interview, I don't know, if I had wanted to interview Ahmadinejad or Vladimir Putin myself, what would that sort of expose me to in terms of anyone potentially hearing those efforts?
Yeah, the NSA is perhaps the most secretive agency.
Well, there you go. I mean, the idea that, I mean, first off, I'm not surprised that the NSA may be monitoring Putin or people around Putin, and people calling in get swept up into that dragnet. That's not
America
terribly
spies
surprising.
on our allies. Like, we've been busted for this regularly.
Right. And it would be consistent with, a Trump, Trump appointee, maybe in that chain of command, to go and say to Tucker Carlson, they have your correspondence with Putin people to try and get an interview. It's conceivable. The real question would be, are they soaking up, other stuff of Tucker Carlson's? Who knows? But the idea that distrust of the intelligence agencies is a function of Donald Trump is just is in a way to essentially say that the distrust that we should have for intelligence agencies, because of their enormous record of abuse in this country that dates back since the advent of intelligence agencies, is somehow a function of Donald Trump. I mean, this is...
Well, for her, I mean, for her specific project on MSNBC, that's exactly what it needs to be, right? Everything that results in distrust of government is because of Donald Trump. Government functioned perfectly fine before Donald Trump. Our intelligence agencies, when they were indiscriminately mass spying on people under the Obama administration, she largely has no problem with that, or definitely has no problem with that. So the project of what she's trying to put out there is that actually mistrust in our institutions is really, really bad. And that's probably the worst thing that Donald Trump did to this country.
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing where it's like 17 different intelligence agencies say Donald Trump did this thing with Russia. I think there's a lot of people like Nicole Wallace who were expecting that to have a decisive sway in the election, and nobody cared. I think maybe that's what she's referring to.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, the idea, as Brendan was just pointing out, in our little chat here, that somebody who worked for the George W. Bush administration is going to pretend as if there is no reason to be mistrustful in intelligence agencies. I mean, I'm sure that's what she's convinced herself, though, because that's the only way that I think one can sleep at night at being a part of that.
Those are her peeps. Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.